before we even talk about the game, because I know all you guys probably want to know why didn't Kyrie play. Um, Before the game, I was informed by doctors that he came in this morning or this afternoon complaining of headache, and he complained last night to Max, our trainer. And the first I heard was about 40 minutes before the game. Went out and warmed up and said his head felt like it was on fire. So they gave him a concussion test, and they'll continue to reevaluate him each and every day to see how he's doing. He says he's doing fine, he feels good, but again, our policy is never to put a player at risk, put him out there when we feel anything is going on with him. We didn't want to put him out there and risk it, even though even before the game he was feeling terrible as far as not playing. And I talked to him about, we're not going to put you out there when we think there is a possibility that you have some symptoms of a concussion. So it was our call, our doctor's call, basically to say, hey, we're going to sit him down tonight.
Now, is there any kind of league policy now that the release we've got, he has a concussion, how long do you guys have to wait before you can even begin to, is there any kind of NBA policy on that?
Well, I know there's a policy, but like I said, Tom, it's day by day. Every individual is different. So our doctors, we got the best doctors in the world here at the Cleveland Clinic. So they'll check him every day, see how he's doing, and we'll go from there.
You were saying you found out about 40 minutes before the game, or did
40,
you have any kind of idea?
I had no idea. About 40 minutes before the game, or I take that back, a little bit earlier. When we were about to walk through and walk to tape, I found out that he was in there getting a concussion test. Max told me then he had complained of headaches last night. So before the game, because Max thought he was okay, didn't have any symptoms, wanted him to go out and just work out, get some shots of him, see how he felt. That's when Doc came in and said, how are you feeling? And he said, I feel like my head's on fire. So with about 40 minutes before the game is when they came in and Doc said, Coach, we can't let him play.
Just to make sure we all have the right timeline, when did he go out for his shots? Like an hour?
Well, his normal routine is probably about an hour and a half before the game. Okay. So in that time frame.
And he was tested prior to that?
Correct.
Byron, when a team loses one of its best players and playmaker like that so close to game time, is that one of those things where you can respond one of two ways, and how happy were you with the way your guys fought through?
Yeah, I mean, you can respond one of two ways. Obviously you can feel sorry for yourself and say, one of our best players is out and go in the tank, or you can respond like we did. I told Seth just before the game, you're starting. Didn't tell him why, just, you're starting, let's go out there and play. We're at home, let's take care of home. And no matter who has the uniform on, the objective is still the same. And I thought our guys came out and they did that for 48 minutes.
It's just the way they kept overcoming things. You lose Andy there, looked like it could have been a pretty scary thing. He comes back. You guys just seem to finding ways to pull it through.
Very resilient bunch of guys. The Dallas game was, pretty much the same way. To come home after a loss last night on a back-to-back night and ask guys to play the way they played, I thought it was fantastic.
Can you talk about Ramon's game against Paul, specifically how he played him defensively?
I thought he did a good job defensively, and I thought so did Gibbs. Those were the two guys that were going to guard the most. Alonzo had a little bit of a piece of him at times, but I thought Seth played fabulous. I thought offensively and defensively, scoring, moving the ball, getting guys involved. He just had one of those games where, he took the challenge. Just like I said, his name was called before the game to be a starter, and he responded, with a great game, and that's all you could ask for him.
It seemed like, from where we were anyway, that it was a kind of a chippy game. A bunch of hard fouls, intentional fouls.
Yeah, it was a chippy game. I think it got more chippy in the second half than it was in the first half. That's because the game got close, and both teams are trying to win. So it's going to get a little chippy, at that point in time of the game. But again, our guys, they planted their feet, stood firm, didn't back down, and we met fire with fire.
Just talk about Varejão's toughness. He goes down the one time, then right there at the end, he looks like he lands on this tailbone again, and pops right back up, and that time doesn't even come off the court.
Andy's one of the toughest guys in the league. Plays hard, every single night, doesn't take plays off. There's not really a whole lot more I can say about how well he's played for us and what he means to the team. And again, one of those nights again, 15 and 11, just playing outstanding basketball.
Gibson comes back, hits the huge three-pointer at the end. I think that kept you guys ahead the rest of the game. Just his contribution.
Did a heck of a job, both ends of the floor. I knew he would be a little rusty. You know, he hasn't played in a little while. I was more concerned about his wind than anything. You know, I knew his timing would be a little off, but I knew as the game went on, he would be okay. But like you said, you know, Boobie's been known to hit big shots, and he hit a big one in the corner.
And Jamison, obviously he tweaked ankle, his Achilles, whatever. He comes out and hits 27 points on a back-to-back night.
I think if there was anybody that I was more worried about, it was probably Antoine, because he played so many minutes last night. And tonight I knew I was going to have to play him a lot of minutes as well. But his response in those 2 games, you know, 26-point average in the last 2 games was fantastic.
Byron, can you talk about closing out and being able to do it this year and the confidence you guys have at the end of the game?
Well, we talked about at the beginning of the season when we lost some close games. And we knew once we won one, you know, that it gets a little bit more contagious and your confidence gets a little bit more, you know, and you just start feeling a little bit better about yourself as a team. So we're not surprised when we're in games, and we're not surprised when we win close games. You know, that's just the way we feel right now.
Does game have anything to do with your anniversary today?
I don't know, you have to ask my wife. I'll tell you what, it was good to win on my anniversary. I'll be in a much better mood tonight when I go home.
How many years?
26.